He's telling me you're lying about how you're eating. Why are you lying to your daughter?
Mom, oh, you just hit the nail on the head big time.
Verna, where are you from?
We're from Oklahoma.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you so much.
I keep hearing this woman coming through. She tells me she's the mother. She tells me she fell. Who fell here in the physical?
Your mom fell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please know she's here. I keep seeing a baby that's with her that didn't make it.
Yeah. My mom lost a baby before he was born.
Please know that she needs to let you know that in spirit, she has that baby that's there. Because she says to me, Matt, I miss this child every day. And you know that when she passed, what's interesting is she tells me, I don't know if you remember this. I really want you to go back and to think. She tells me that before she died, before she left this world, she remembers that child. So before she died, did she speak to you about that child?
Well, she speak to us, about the child a lot of times. She never forgot that little boy.
Please know your mom tells me this. She says to me, Matt, before I died, okay, I think people thought she was losing it or going a little bit crazy because she was talking about incessantly about this child, this child, this child. And your mom is telling me that before she died, that child came to get her and bring her to the other side.
Wow.
She's bringing this through. And your mom says to me, Matt, you need to let my daughter know that I was not crazy. Please tell her that I was not losing my mind. She says, I may have been confused, but your mom tells me that her soul was getting ready for that journey to the other side. And when she was getting ready for that journey, she was seeing some of her departed people before she actually died. Because I see those souls coming to get your mom. And she wants to let you know that that soul is there. Now, also, your husband passed as well?
Yes.
Because I know who you want to hear from. Because your mother just brought through your husband. And do you know that I know that you pray to your husband every day? Because your mom says to me, Matt, she had to hear from him. And your husband's going like this, Matt, I wasn't a talker like them, he said to me. He goes, I wasn't somebody that he goes, I never been to a medium like this before, but your husband's here for you. I just saw him lean down and kiss you. He says, Matt, please tell my wife that she looks just as beautiful as when I left this world. He says, and every day, Matt, he goes, I used to tell her how much I loved her. I told her how beautiful she was. He says, and I want to thank her because without her, I would have never had the life that I had. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I'm going to tell you why. Your husband tells me that you've always been the social person. He says, Matt, he's growing old with my wife. He says, I never even knew what the hell we were doing next day to next. He goes, I used to wake up in the morning. He says, and my wife would tell me what we're doing, where we're going, who we're visiting. He says, and my life was all planned out. He says, because of her, he says, I had an amazing social life. He says, I got to see the family. He says, and my wife, he goes, she knew everything. He says, she knew what everybody was doing. Your husband tells me that the phone was God for you. He says that he always remembers you being on the phone. He goes, Matt, he goes, half the time, I didn't get to have a conversation with my wife because she was always on the phone talking to this one, that one. He goes, she must have made 10 to 20 calls a day. Do you understand that?
Yes.
But he said to me
like
that he goes, Matt, do you know that then she would come back and she would tell me everything. He goes, and I would know how every family member was doing, what they were doing. He goes, and I got to know everything through my wife. He says, well, now he's laughing. He goes, because he tells me in spirit, he knows things before you do. He says, now he goes, I understand. He goes, I can see what everyone's doing. But your husband says to me one thing. He says, Matt, he goes, tell my wife I don't want to see her slowing down. He tells me that you have to start taking better care of yourself. He tells me you have not been eating. And listen, he's telling me you're lying about how you're eating. Why are you lying to your daughter?
Mom, oh, you just hit the nail on the head big time. Yes.
I know. Listen, I don't know. I shouldn't say I know. Your father knows. He says to me, Matt, he says, there's nothing wrong with my wife. He goes, what's this with sleeping in? You don't want to get out of bed anymore, he tells me.
Mom.
Your husband says to me, listen, just because I died doesn't mean that your whole life changed. He goes, Matt, she doesn't want to cook anymore. She doesn't want to get out of bed anymore. He goes, she doesn't even eat. She doesn't care what she eats. He goes, Matt, you need to let her know one thing. Every day that she lives life here in this world, I live life with her. You keep feeling so bad because every day you go through life saying, my husband's not going to be able to see this. I wish my husband was here. I wish my husband. He says, I am there. And not just me, your mom is here. He says, so please know that I don't want to see you crying anymore. Because he tells me that you look at his picture and you say, I just can't wait to see him again.
Yes.
He tells me this. He says, Matt, please tell my wife that I am so happy that I died before her. He says, because I would not have been able to live life without her.
We've always said that.
But he tells me this, and you're not going to like what I have to say, but he tells me that before he died, your husband knew one day he was going to pass before you. He knew it. I don't know how he knew it, but he did. And he says to me that he got you all set up. So he made sure that all the documents, everything was all taken care of. So if he were to die, you would not have to worry about anything. Is that true?
Yes.
So he said to me, why do you think I did that? I did that so that you could live the rest of your life without having to worry, without having to stress, without having to have any fears, he tells me. I made sure I took care of you, even if I wasn't here to take care of you. He said, so don't let that be for nothing. He says, you go out, you live your life. He says, Matt, he says, you tell her to go out, buy clothes, buy what she wants, do what she wants. That's what he tells me. He says, because I want her to live her life to the fullest. He says, and when you go out and he says, you go through life and you say, well, my husband's not here. He says, I want you to change your thoughts. I want you to go through life and say, my husband wants me to do this. My husband gives me permission. He says, Matt, I didn't work my ass off every day of my life, he tells me. He says, for my wife not to enjoy. He says, we were supposed to enjoy together. He says, and I knew one day that every day when I worked hard for one reason, to take care of her and my family. He says, so I want you to be able to enjoy and to enjoy every single moment. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
He says, I love you more than I ever could. And one day he says to me, you will see me again, but don't rush that day. Don't rush the days away. That's what he tells me.
Yeah.
He says, because he says, I needed you when I needed you, but now your daughter, she needs you. He says, so enjoy this time with one another. He says, don't worry her, Matt. Tell her not to worry her daughter. He says, you have fun, you enjoy life, and know that I'm there.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much.
I really hope that this helped you.